And if you're going to measure progress, if you're going to see how far it is that you're going to get into your goal or dream, one of the things that you need to do is not just have a to-do list, actually have a success list. What are those three things that you want to be able to accomplish? And once you have that list in place, then you can figure out how to fill in the gaps in between. So like one of the movies that came to mind was in the movie The Patriot. So what we do is that we pick a season to watch like our favorite movies. One of the ones that I have in the rotation is The Patriot. Just love that movie, but it's over 2 hours, so we always watch it in July. And one of the things that Mel Gibson's character tells his kids when they're trying to ambush the British soldiers is that he tells them to aim small, miss small. So I had to look up what that means because I'm not a marksman, and unlike how most people think, not everybody that lives in Texas is a great shooter. So I had to look this up. But what the
Hmm.
meaning was behind that was that you have this huge target, but if you focus on the target as a whole, you're going to miss. So what you want to do is that you want to hit that small, tiny spot that you want to hit. That way, you'll have a less likely chance of missing.
So what I like to do, like during my day, I get to when I'm gonna get to work or coming to work or gonna work on something. Let's use work as an example. So there's always like 4 or 5 things that I need to take care of before the day's in. So as long as I take care of those four or five things, I'm satisfied. If anything else does not get done, but those 5 things gets done during my work hours, I'm satisfied. Same thing like on my personal life, like there's certain expectations that need to or things that need to be met during the day that I need to take care of. Um, as long as I hit those points, it's gonna be okay. Anything else that I don't hit because that was a goal, that was a game plan since the very beginning. And most of that stuff is that we need to make sure that whatever is we're focusing on is actually setting you up for your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, that you're actually walking towards that, creating those small milestones, those small achievements, those small wins in order for you to be able to get that momentum that you need to get you to where you want to get, and that's your goals at the end of the day.
So what you're pointing at is find the biggest point of impact, because there's stuff that we do every day that have to get done, but there's some things that we could say no to. There's some things that we can say, you know what, like, I mean, this is keeping me busy, but it's not helping me get closer to my goals. And one of the ways that Keller illustrates this in his book is through the illustration of the dominoes. So like a lot of us have never played dominoes, but at the very least, when you see them, you'll stack them up in a row, and then you get to the very back of that row, and you tumble the back one, and you just see the chain effect, and all the dominoes in front of it are going to be knocked over. And he pointed to like a study where like one a physicist was able to determine that like a single domino that was like small in its size was able to eventually get enough momentum to knock down something bigger down the line.
And that's gonna be key because a lot of times we're trying to knock down a big thing like let's say you want to climb a big mountain. You start with small steps. You don't do giant steps. We're trying to run sprints, and this is a marathon. We need to take our time and make sure that we're making those steps, and those steps that we're doing are solid. And again, if we create those main points in our lives, we're going to be able to get that momentum, and that domino, like you mentioned, according to the study, at the end, it's able to move bigger tasks up front, like eventually, when you start with the first one. One of the key things for us is to stay focused on what we really want to get to or where we want to be at. And a lot of times, don't see yourself as the person that you are. Start looking at yourself as the person you want to become, because that's also going to be key. Because a lot of times we're going to have to change our behavior, our habits, our thoughts, and unlearn some old things to learn some new things. And remember, not every task is equal. A lot of times, what's important to somebody that's asking you to do something for them is not going to be important to you, and it's not going to be beneficial for you either.
Yeah, so one of the things that we often like see happen around us, right, is that somebody gets to the pinnacle of success. They finally open up that business and it's thriving that they've been talking about, or they, whatever the goal is, they finally get there, or they get to a competition that they've been competing to, they become successful. Everybody always sees them in the finish line. They don't see the work that got put into it. And what it was is not that it just happened overnight, is that it was a series of decisions that were consistent every single day. And it started with something small, something that was effectual, something that was going to lead to a bigger outcome. And they stuck to it each and every single day until they saw the success. And we see that very often, but we don't see the struggle. So one of the things that we need to realize is that, hey, you're going to get there. You just need to find those, what is it that you're wasting your time on? What is it that is actually going to help you towards your goal? What's going to work together towards it? That way you can knock down the bigger tasks.
Yeah, and another thing is that we need to also remember that if we don't create that discipline, that consistency, is gonna be harder. And a lot of times, like, we do need to, what people are missing is clarity. That's what we don't have. We have an idea what we have all these thoughts, but we don't have clarity. So we're not focusing on that one thing, and that one thing that you need to accomplish is gonna show up constantly. Meaning that that one thing that you're good at or that you need to focus on is gonna appear over and over and over again. It's something that it's gonna be constantly showing up. Again, going back to the idea of math, you learn your fundamentals: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you start building on that, like your algebras and all that come after that, but everything's still integrated. So what we need to do is just focus on the fundamentals at first and then start building from there.
Yeah. So you mentioned math, and that's one of the things that would always intimidate me, right? And as I've gotten older, I end up working like with financial services. So it actually became pretty handy, and now I actually enjoy it because I see that it has real life application. With households. However, one of the things that helps is, like you mentioned, being able to find your strengths, right? So like, I always butchered the name, but I went to go watch Oppenheimer. Have you seen that one yet?
No, I've been wanting to watch it. Yeah.
It has to be in the theaters, man. Like that's where you want to watch this film. That's been a tradition of mine. When it's a Christopher Nolan film, I watch it in the theaters. The only one I didn't like, honestly, was Tenet. Wasn't a big fan. But Oppenheimer was a comeback for me. Like that was a because it was a really good film. But the reason I bring it up was because he was a brilliant physicist, right? And one of the things that he recognized very early on was that he was not a good mathematician, but he knew
Yeah.
what he wanted to do. So what did he do? He worked on his strengths, the stuff he was good at, and part of his team, he got other people who were good at math. That way they could contribute towards his project. But it didn't involve him being good at everything. He knew his limitations and he knew his weaknesses. And that's a really good place to start.
Well, to add to that, we could be successful with even less discipline than we think. And for one reason, and that's the same reason that you're saying, and I'm going to highlight that success is about doing the right thing, not about doing everything right. So what is that one right thing that we need to take care of, that we need to do? That it's our strengths. And that's what we're looking at here. Looking at that, the right thing that we need to be working on, because not everything is important.
Yeah, because we talk about discipline, like if it's something you're just going to find, or it's just going to happen to us, or if it's something that's like already in our character. It's like, maybe some people, were born like that. I know he brings up like the experiment where some children were able to delay their gratification by not getting the candy when they were left on their own. Some kids were able to, do it longer than others. So like the scientists would come and tell them, it's like, you can't grab this candy for 2 minutes, and if you don't grab that candy, we'll give you two candies when I get back. And most kids, what happened is that they were not able to resist for that long. However, there were some that did wait and were able to double, their investment. They were able to get more candy for their for just for waiting and for being disciplined. So they followed up with these kids in the future, and they found out that there was a correlation between the children that were able to delay that gratification and do it later. But even though some now they were really rare. It was a really small sample size of the children that actually managed to accomplish this, that were able to wait that long. But it's still something that can be learned. Once you become self-aware of what your weaknesses are, then you can say it's like, you know what, I can wait on this. It's like, okay, work hard, but it's gonna pay off later. So it's not like it's not like we're cursed with something. All you have to do is make the final decision that you want to commit to something and stick to it every single day. And guess what? You're a disciplined person. It
That
didn't. It's not something you were born with. It was something that you were able to develop.
Yeah, that is key, and I would add to that. Let's start your day by working on that one thing that you want to get done, because if you leave it towards the end, it's gonna get almost impossible for you to actually accomplish it. So if you knock it down early during the day, and your most important things you do them at the very beginning, it's gonna put you in a place where you might be able to succeed a little bit faster, a little bit better, and let's remember that there's no such thing as a balanced life. That there's never going to be a real balanced life. We need to, um, instead of trying to find that balance, let's find our rhythm. What is your rhythm? Because the balanced life is not going to work out, because you either invest in something and let something else go. And I think that it's more important for us to find our rhythm instead of a balance.
Absolutely, yeah, because you're not going to balance it. I mean, if we sleep like 6 to 8 hours like every night, and then we work another 8 hours during the day, up to 10 hours a day, or 12 hours, depending on your profession. And then some people get to spend time with the family, some people don't. That balance isn't going to exist because some things are just going to require more time than others. However, how are you using the time that you are with them? And you bring up, and you briefly touched on it, but it's important to highlight. Like our willpower, it's going to have its peak time. So there's that part of the day when you feel the most motivated, the most energized. You're going to be like, you know what, like that's going to be the perfect time to schedule that thing that I want to work on. Make sure those
Yeah.
two align. Don't let that go to waste because it's limited. The same way that there's decision fatigue, there's also willpower fatigue. The time is going to pass and you're going to lose that feeling. So whenever it does come, like like go with it, go with the wave. But at the same time, don't wait for the wave to come. Just get started, and as you see progress, as you see it improving, you're going to feel motivated naturally without having to wait for the willpower.
I also think that it's a big lie to try to always go big. Sometimes we're gonna have to do increments, small little steps, baby steps, to be able to get that momentum going. So that's very important too, and that's key to starting off any goal, any I guess dreams that you want to follow.
Absolutely, that's the biggest temptation. Like you you see how you look ahead, you see how much you still need to get there, and you get discouraged. You want to quit instead of looking behind you and see how far you've already gotten.